Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Esports Racing League, presented once again by Spec Racer Sports, Alliance Autosport, and Grassroots Motorsports magazine here on Apex Racing TV. And over the course of our 9-week regular season and the winner-take-all championship event we like to call the runoffs, we hope to bring you some of the best racing around in 3 different classes known to club racers here in the United States. We've got Spec Miata, Spec Racer Ford, and Formula 4. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and along with DJ Clark in the commentary booth and Jonathan Grabowski back in that virtual production trailer, tonight we head west from last week's venue, but only about 4 hours to the west, in a sleepy little village in New York's Finger Lake region that held its first Grand Prix 70 years ago on the town streets. And you know, the purpose-built circuit, it was constructed very soon after for, of course, the reasons that you would always think of, primarily safety, and not wanting people standing on sidewalks. But I digress. It became the home to the first permanent circuit of the United States Formula One Grand Prix, and it's a venue known as much for its speed as for the blue Armco that still rings the track. And tonight we travel to the mecca of North American road racing, Watkins Glen International. And as we do each week, we'll feature 2 20-minute races. First on track will be the Spec Racer Fords, followed tonight by Formula 4, and we're going to give the Spec Miatas a week off. We'll see them next week at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And so, welcome back, DJ. And you know, there's no way, I really no way I think we could have anticipated the Spec Racer Ford finish at Lime Rock last week with Jim Brewster, who was so happy, so pleased. You could hear it in his voice when he found himself catapulted from 5th to the lead about halfway through that race, when the top 3 drivers, they all got together going through that chicane. You know, what are the chances you know, that we see a few folks maybe head to the Seneca Lodge a little bit early and you know, head over there before they run out of prime rib?
Well, Greg, it's not entirely out of the question here that we could see a little bit of coming together, or even just a little bit of solo spinning around this Watkins Glen circuit. Yes, it is very, very quick. It is an easy track to learn, but it is very difficult to master. Watch for some real danger areas up and over turn 9. That has always been, in my opinion, one of the trickiest corners to get right, trying to get onto the throttle there. Also, I think you could see a little bit of consternation among drivers as we head down into the inner loop. That looks looks like it's a primary passing opportunity, and a lot of times you can find some room there, but once you get down into that bus stop chicane, it is a one-way street. If you're not careful, you can find yourself banging wheels pretty easily.
That's exactly right. You go down in that bus stop. You can go 3, and I've seen even in some cases 4 wide, trying to fit into the inner loop, the bus stop chicane there off the back straight. But once you go in there, as you said, it's a one-lane course, and so watching cars try to funnel down, sometimes it works. Sometimes, well, it doesn't. And I think, DJ, probably one big difference that we're going to see here this week at Watkins Glen Internationals. We've got our Spec Racer Fords now just about halfway through their qualifying session. Whereas the little bull ring at Lime Rock, there wasn't a lot of opportunity to use the draft there for draft-heavy classes like the Spec Racer Fords. Here at Watkins Glen, it can certainly make a difference. Drafting coming out of the 90, coming out of that very first turn, and going through the uphill S's and up towards that bus stop, the pull of the slipstream and of the draft can be awfully strong that you just didn't see at Lime Rock.
Yeah, it can be very, very big here, and so I think you're going to see a lot of drivers trying to be able to take advantage of that draft as much as possible, and watch for drivers trying to get very eager going into the 90, that first corner there, to really get the start of that run and time things right. But the one catch with it is that coming up the S's, you're right, you're able to get that good draft through there, but you have to wait until you get onto the back straight in order to be able to make the pass. It's almost a little bit like oval racing, that you've got to time the run from the 90 absolutely perfectly. So you may see some drivers having to lift a little bit coming through the S's or coming up onto the back stretch if they don't get that timing right.
That's right, and obviously then it can hurt them as they make their run down to the bus stop. And as you mentioned, that turn 9, whereas so many corners here at Watkins Glen are heavily cambered, they just pull you into a groove and almost promote speed through a corner. Turn 9, it's the one off camber turn here. You've got that Armco just practically inches away from the exit. And it's a turn that so many drivers just instinctively will turn in early for. They end up scrubbing off a ton of speed, assuming they can keep the car off the wall. It certainly is the most difficult corner here at Watkins Glen. So let's do this quickly, Tim, or did I say Tim? DJ, I'm sorry. As we are now just about 9 minutes into this 15-minute qualifying session, let's very quickly take a look at the finishing order from last week at Lime Rock Park and the championship standings right now in Spec Racer Ford. As I mentioned, Jim Brewster, who started 5th and was running 5th when our top 3 drivers all got together going through another chicane over at Lime Rock Park. Jim Brewster shot to the lead, takes the win, margin of victory 0.2 of a second over Nagase Yoshikawa, who was our pole sitter and had fallen back as far as, I believe, 7th at one point during the race. Antonio Rice comes home on the last step on the podium. He started on the outside of the front row, had fallen as far back as 9th on the very first lap. Beans Forster comes home just off the podium in 4th, Deacon Greenfield 5th. And so let's take a look at the point standings now in Spec Racer Ford. And Beans Forster, without a win to his name, he is currently your points leader with 53 points after 3 rounds. This is going to be the 4th round for our Spec Racer Ford drivers. Jim Brewster, coming off the strength of that win last week, is currently sitting 2nd in the championship. You see him there, 10 points back from Forster. Just a single point up from Charles Vaccaro, who's sitting in 3rd. Wanchi Lin, who took our very first Spec Racer Ford win of the season at Summit Point Raceway. He probably no, that wasn't at Summit Point. That was at Sonoma Raceway. I'm sorry, where Wanchi Lin took the win there. He has only run 2 out of the 3 rounds, yet he still finds himself 4th in the championship, and he's only 1 point back from Vaccaro. And then we've got John Vogel currently sitting in 5th, and Vogel with 32 points, currently 26 points out of the championship lead. Yeah, how did I forget that Wanchi Lin took that win at Sonoma, where he started all the way from the back of the pack and beat Beans Forster on the very last lap. Great run for him.
Yeah, fantastic run for him. Unfortunately, I'm looking at the standings. I don't think he's here today, so that's a little bit unfortunate that he's not going to be in there. But Beans and Jim Brewster both look like they're here today, so we could see a little bit of a healthy championship battle. Those cars are going to be ones to keep an eye on.
Indeed, indeed. And we have a few folks that were here for practice, have not seen them take to the track yet. Ben Sarley, who is a Spec Miata racer in real life out of the Washington, D.C., or actually a lot of Washington, D.C. drivers showing up. And I think Ben Sarley, not on track as of yet. Robert Corzin, driving the number 19 machine, also has not turned a wheel yet here in qualifying. Raced earlier this year at the National Championship runoffs, came in 5th in the T1 class, typically drives a Ford Mustang, so the Spec Racer Fords, if he comes out for qualifying, definitely going to be, I think, a little bit different for him. Some drivers may be struggling a little bit, a bit of a surprise. Bob Kucera, Spec Racer Ford driver in real life, driving the number 48 machine. He is on his 4th flying lap. He has not managed to set a time yet, nor has Joe Camilleri, currently working his 4th flying lap. Also, no times in the books for him. So looking a little rough down in the order, but at the moment now, Beans Forster, our championship leader, currently our provisional pole sitter there in that multicolored number 231 machine. And who's that I see trying to catch a draft off of Beans Forster and maybe going right around him? That's Stevie Ray.
Series organizer Stevie Ray doing exactly what we talked about, being able to get a little bit of that draft coming up and over the 90. And to your point about some of these drivers maybe not being able to get the best times put down on the board, it's a pretty chilly day here in upstate New York. It's only about 68, 69 degrees Fahrenheit, 70 degrees Fahrenheit track temperature. And I think for some of these drivers, we've seen a lot of spins here, particularly coming down through the 90, the rear end of the car breaking away a little bit. I think that temperature is contributing to that quite a bit.
Yeah, I think you are right there. We've seen, as you mentioned, at the 90, critical corner, because as you mentioned, it really is the place where you need to get a good exit and start making a run up towards the bus stop. And certainly, if you're going to have the car go around on you, not going to be a good time here as we see Forster and also Stevie Ray coming down into the heel of the boot. And it's like they're just playing around a little bit. Certainly not going to be the fast way around. And there we go with a good run through the 90. That is Justin Huffman in the 223 machine, currently working his 6th flying lap. And Justin, currently your 4th fastest driver on track, and not all that far off, as we can see, only about 0.05 of a second out of 3rd.
Yeah, pretty close times there up at the top of the charts. Beans, though, having that big advantage that could prove him well. I do wonder if that was aided by the draft. We see that quite often here in qualifying, that if you're able to time that draft right, you can gain upwards of about a half a second in the slipstream if you're able to time everything out right. But we're not going to have a whole lot longer to see any of these drivers get a lap because checkered flag has fallen.
There you go. So last flying laps now will count for these drivers as we continue to watch Justin Huffman, who appears to be on a very good pace right now. We'll see if he can out qualify last week's winner, Jim Brewster. Brewster with a fast time of 2:04.257, and Huffman at the moment his fastest time of 2:04.306. And you know, we were looking as Forster completed his last flying lap, DJ. Again, it looked like he and Stevie Ray maybe towards the end of that last lap were maybe playing around a little bit, but Forster was almost 3 full seconds off of his fast time. Stevie Ray now looks as though he is sitting currently in 7th position. We'll see if he can pick up, but let's take a look as Justin Huffman now with only 2 corners, now just 1 corner remaining on his very last lap of qualifying. As he comes out of turn 11 and onto the front straight here and across the line, does he improve? He turns in a 2:04.42. And so just a little bit off of his previous best. He is not going to improve. And for the moment, he is finding himself in fourth position with Josh Justice in the number 99 car. I don't believe, given where he is on the track, actually just coming out of turn 9, he may be on his last flying lap.
Yeah, I think he may be able to gather up one more into him here as he's going to come down into the final corner right now. Always tricky here to try to carry as much speed as you can at apex and out around to the outside, but not run into that outside wall. Let's see if Justice is able to pick anything up here, trying to beat a 2:04.3. Not going to be able to do it.
No, not going to do it as he puts down a 2:05.093, and looks like he is going to have to be content with fifth position.
Yeah, he's going to start there, but as we said, with the draft, anything is possible.
Indeed it is. And, watching these Spec Racer 4 drivers heading up towards the bus stop for the very first time in a race is definitely a sight to see. That's assuming, and, I'm not even going to say it because I know I'm going to break. I know what's going to happen if I do. So we'll just wait for them all to get to the bus stop.
We are not pro commentators curse here.
No, and I've seen it way too many times in the virtual world and in the real world. I just don't even want to mention it. All right, Ray Blethen completes his final flying lap in the number 12 machine, probably in the 151 machine, good enough for 12th position. Do we have Ray's brother in the field here tonight as well? No. Yeah, we do have Stephen Blethen in the field as well. Looks like the 150 car going to start right behind his brother. All right, let's take a look at the starting grid. Starting on the pole tonight from Team Watson Racing's Beans Forster in the number 231 machine. Probably pole time 203.892. John Vogel in the number 14 machine. He normally runs the number 4, but John Vogel going to be starting on the outside of row number 1. Jim Brewster, last week's winner in the 933 machine, he will start on the inside of row number 2 with Justin Huffman in the 223, starting in 4th. Josh Justice will start 5th this evening, while Skip Brock Jr. will start in 6th. Stevie Ray, again, the Ray and Ray Esports Racing, the number 11 machine, is going to start 7th. Deacon Greenfield is going to start on the outside of row number 4. Then we've got Andrew Wozencroft and Ray Wong. They are going to start 9th and 10th tonight. And turn it over to you, DJ.
Andrew Benna will start off in 11th, followed by Raymond Blethen in 12th place. 13th looks like it's going to be Jeff Andrews, and then the other Blethen will start off in 14th. Then it's Mark Sherman and Effinger in 15th and 16th. Then it's Wayne Buttermore and Greg Zimmer, and Joe Camilleri will be 19th. Rich Green in 20th. Then Bob Kucera, Caleb Pocock, Robert Corzin, and Thomas Froling will round out the grid with Ben Sarling starting at the back of the field.
All right, and as our drivers now are on their pace lap here from Watkins Glen International, let's quickly talk about tonight's sponsor for our first race, and that is Grassroots Motorsports Magazine. Built for the true sports car enthusiasts, Grassroots Motorsports has one mission, and that's to be your personal guide to the sports car world. Whether it's online at grassrootsmotorsports.com, in print, or in person, the racers and builders, the car nerds at Grassroots Motorsports, take you behind the scenes and show you how to make your car better. Along the way, they'll give you a taste of everything else this hobby has to offer, from 1,000 horsepower track monsters to cool street cars that they build in their driveway. They also maintain a collection of staff-built project cars because hands-on technical articles, they're not typed behind the desk. They're scribbled down in the garage. To not only read but become part of the story, head on over to grassrootsmotorsports.com. All right, so, I think another one of the great stories out of last week, DJ, besides Mr. Brewster's win in Spec Racer Ford, actually was in our Spec Miata race. And again, Spec Miata is going to have the week off, but one of the Blethen brothers, Stephen Blethen, who's now only been on the iRacing platform for, I believe, about 8 weeks or so, managed to work his way up to 3rd in that Spec Miata field. Had a great run at the end. Was able to hold off Kevin Langer, I think, for the last 2 laps or so. Very good car placement. And now, you know, I don't want to say Steven and his brother Ray were kind of ringers up at Lime Rock, but they had raced there for very many years, being based out of the Northeast. But I know Steven was very surprised. His mother, Trish, was very surprised that he finished on the podium. And he told me after the broadcast that he was trying to figure out how he could actually get into the commentary booth for an interview, and couldn't figure out how to get to our Discord. So I think going forward now we've set Steven up that if he's on the podium again, he'll make an appearance.
Well, good, because we would love to be able to talk to him here. Always want to be able to talk to our podium drivers, but we've got 20 minutes to find out exactly who those are going to be, and one more corner under pacing before we go green.
All right, and here we go as the pace car now brings the field around turn number 11. It's going to make that hard right turn into the pit lane, and it does. And so Beans Forster now has the field. He's got John Vogel in that black number 14 machine right beside him. Green flag is in the air, and Justin Huffman getting a great jump and giving Vogel a bit of a push from the outside lane as they come down to the 90. And look at that move down to the inside. Josh Justice in the blue 99 machine, as we've got one car that goes around, and more than one car. I think we've got Rich Green off. I think we've got Mark Sherman off as well. A couple stragglers there at the tail end of the field. But as we jump up to the top, coming out of the S's, it's Forster, it's Vogel, Josh Justice in the blue 99, and going up the inside, the 933 machine of Brewster. Oh.
It's going to be Beans running the chicane and missing it, and cars around.
And that is Brewster, who had gone to the lead, going up all the way down the inside, our winner last week, as he spins the car through the bus stop chicane. Brewster now falls all the way back to 16th position as the majority of the field drives on by. That's going to move John Vogel now up into the lead. It's going to move Josh Justice up to second. Let's take a look. We've got the replay here as our leaders went up into the bus stop on the very first lap.
Well, it's exactly like you were saying, coming down into the bus stop, 3-4 wide. Beans Forster just ducked out of it, and a little bit of contact there with Vogel. That little bit of a touch, just enough to send Brewster around.
Yeah, as you pop over that curbing, driver's left, and load up the right rear tire, it doesn't take much to send the Spec Racer Fords around, and we saw exactly what happened to Justice. He's now going to have the recovery drive of his life. It was a great start for him, but John Vogel now opening up about a 3-car length advantage over Josh Justice. Skip Brock now moving up from 6th in the number 68 machine, that burgundy and black car. He is your 3rd place runner. Deacon Greenfield, great start for him. He started 8th. In the number 36, he's now up to 4th position. Stevie Ray, Andrew Benna, Beans Forster, our pole sitter, finds himself now all the way back in 7th position as he had gone off and did not make the bus stop, but he also now has to find a way back as he's now battling with Andrew Benna as they go under braking down into turn 1.
Looks like he's going to be able to get that move done relatively easily, and credit there to Justin Huffman, who was able to recognize the speed that Beans had, followed him on through, and he was able to get the move done on Andrew. So losing 2 positions in one corner was Benna, but he's still up 3 on the day.
And we see now right ahead of Beans Forster, we've got side-by-side Stevie Ray, Deacon Greenfield putting a big hole in the air for the 231 machine, as the 231 now drops all the way down to the inside, all the way driver's right. He's going to get around those 2 machines, move Forster now up into 4th. He's still got about 5 car lengths, maybe 6, up to Skip Brock Jr. in the 68 machine. But that a nice little pack there, led by Forster, as we've got Greenfield, we've got Ray, Benna, Huffman, and Ray Blethen in that pack as well. Ray Blethen, having started 12th, now finds himself up in 9th.
Yeah, he finds himself up in 9th here, and this is something that I expect we're going to see over the course of this entire 20-minute race. Some of those draft trains starting to form as Wozencroft and Blethen now find themselves in a little bit of a battle coming down into the toe.
And as they do, we now have Wozencroft working his way up into 11th. Joaquin Effinger out of Texas in the number 700 machine now works his way around Jim Brewster. Stephen Blethen sitting back in 14th. Caleb Pocock quite a big distance back from there. Distant, well, actually Pocock now, right up into that battle as well. He's the trailing car in that group as they go 2 by 2 by 2, practically up out of the heel of the boot and up towards that very difficult turn 9.
Yeah, and this is going to be very, very sketchy here for Effinger. He's offline. He manages to hold it under him, but as we said a little bit earlier, off-camber corner there, if you try to run an outside line there, that rear end is going to want to break away very, very quickly. So good hold there by Effinger to keep it together.
And we're on board right now with Deacon Greenfield and Stevie Ray. Battle right now for 4th. As they come down under braking in the 90, and you can see Stevie Ray jumping right down to the inside as Greenfield runs wide, coming out of turn 1, out of the 90. Of course, big changes with the way iRacing has set up turn 1 there. Used to be you could almost run the NASCAR line, go all the way out into the concrete there on the outside past the curbing. You do that now, you do get off tracks, and you could get a slowdown penalty as well, but Greenfield gets the car back under control as we're on board now with Skip Rock Jr. in the number 68 machine. He has now worked himself up into 2nd position as both he and Justice have managed to work their way around the 14 of John Vogel. Vogel, who had started on the outside of the front row, now finds himself 3rd, and look who's part of that battle now. There you go, Beans Forster in that rainbow-colored 231 machine, and our pole sitter now all the way back up after that unfortunate off at the bus stop on lap 1. He's battling for the lead once again.
Yeah, he's doing a great job, and credit here to these two up at the front of the field. They were able to get by Vogel, speaking of NASCAR moves, using a little bit of a bump draft, and that's something that we may see, but here comes a little bit of a fade to the inside here, side by side, coming down into the heel.
And here we go as Skip Rock Jr., Spec Miata driver in real life, gets around the number 99 of Justice. And we saw Vogel try to shove the car underneath, going into the heel of the boot as well. Could not get the pass made. So it is now Skip Rock Jr., your leader, Josh Justice in 2nd. Vogel, oh, and that's Deacon Greenfield as he runs wide coming out of turn 9. Might have had a little brush of the wall, but that gives a little bit of pace to the 71 of Benna as Greenfield and Benna and Ray all side by side coming through turn 11 onto the front straight.
And this is one of the reasons why I love Watkins Glen, particularly in cars like these where there's not a lot of aerodynamics working on them. You can run side by side through the majority of this circuit, but that's going to be the 151 getting a little bit of contact from behind and almost spinning around. Great car control from Ray Blethyn.
Yeah, as he holds on to that car, it doesn't let the rear end go around on him as Deacon Greenfield maybe carried a little bit more speed through turn 1, got a little tap of the rear and let out of the throttle. All right, let's take a look here as we jump back to the lead, 2 by 2 and going down into the bus stop to the inside. That Skip Rock, he's got Justice right behind him. Beans Forster now works his way clear of John Vogel, so move Vogel back into 4th position. But what a run coming out of the S's from our top 4 racers.
Absolutely fantastic. Noah's Ark 2 by 2 going down into the corner. Great stuff to be able to see, and great to be able to see them all funnel their way out. Now here's Justice taking a little bit of a wider line coming through the chute. I don't think that paid off well for him, and Beans Forrester knows that he's on the attack.
Yeah, and I think Justice thought perhaps going around the outside, he might have set himself up to come underneath Skip Rock Jr. going into the toe of the boot, but as we saw there, he lost all that momentum, and it gave Beans Forster the run he needed going down into the toe to get around the number 99 machine to move Beans Forster, our pole sitter, back up into 2nd position. As we see here running a little bit wide coming out of the heel of the boot is Skip Rock Jr. Gathers the car back up as they head over into turn 9. And our top 2 drivers, they've opened up maybe a half a car length on the 99 machine. And you can see that 2nd pack quite a bit further back. Stevie Ray, Andrew Benna, Deacon Greenfield.
Yeah, and if they continue to keep squabbling here this 2nd pack, I don't think they're going to have a whole lot of chance to be able to catch up. We ride on board here with Stevie Ray. You can see just how far ahead that is. That is certainly out of draft range, and he is going to need an almighty bump draft if he wants any hope of catching up to them.
Yeah, indeed, running almost 3.5 seconds back, and he's going to need help from Andrew Benno, who's going to need to get up to the back of that 11 car. Oh, going around just ahead of them. That was, let's see who that was. That was, I think, Skip Brock, our leader in the 68 machine, who now finds himself all the way back in 9th position. That's going to move Beans Forster to the lead, Josh Justice in the second. Let's take a look. I think we've got the replay now.
All right, as we take a look here, I wonder if there was maybe a little bit of contact with Beans Forster. Let's see, coming down into the 90. No, I couldn't see it there. I think he just caught a little bit of that outside curbing, and we talked about the cold temperatures affecting drivers into that first corner. It looks like the car just broke away from Skip.
Yeah, let's take a look. I think we've got another angle of it here as we're watching now from the rear end of Skip Brock's car. And you can see that little wiggle there as he got down past, maybe missed the apex, wasn't quite in the groove, tried to go correct, and the rear end just walked around on him. Here as we go back to the live action, and Beans Forster now opening up a 3-car length advantage over our new second place racer, John Vogel, who gets around Josh Justice at the toe of the boot. And as those two drivers battle, allows Forster to open up a bit of a gap. And look at this, a little bit further back from our lead trio. Andrew Benn has gotten around Stevie Ray, and that may be the, well, gonna have to keep the car on course, but that may be the faster way around, is with Stevie Ray pushing Benna up to the lead. They've knocked maybe a couple tenths off of our lead pack here as we, and I think we've got that pass coming up as our leaders are now working lap number 6.
Looks like this is going to be pretty straightforward. Benna just able to get a great draft here, getting that timing that we talked about, absolutely perfect coming up through the 90, and easy as you please, he is able to move up ahead into that 4th place position.
All right, and as we come back to live action now, and again, working lap number 6 here as we have under 5 minutes remaining, only about 4 minutes remaining in this 10 minutes in. We got about 10 minutes remaining. Sorry about that. In this 20-minute race. I just, willed it to be a 15-minute race. All right, as we're on board right now with Josh Justice and John Vogel now coming down towards the bus stop, and I think, discretion being the better part of valor, and I think both Justice and Vogel realizing that if they're going to get back up to Beans Forster, they're going to have to stick in line there and not take every possible opportunity to make a pass.
Oh, as we've got, that is Ray Hong around there in back. Looks like he may have just gotten things a little bit wrong coming through the bus stop. I wonder if he maybe caught a little bit too much of the curb and that car just got a little bit sideways.
All right, and he rejoins now as we take a look at this battle, this second pack. And looks like now Beans Forster as well as Stevie Ray side by side. Tell you what, let's jump back. I think we've got the replay queued up, see exactly what happened to the number 6 machine going down into the bus stop right behind our former leader, the 68, is Skip Brock.
And that was all set up there by a wiggle out of Skip Brock coming down into the first part of the bus stop. It threw Ray offline, and that was just enough to send him over to the grass. He missed the braking zone ever so slightly, and that threw him out.
There you go. And so Ray Wong now finds himself all the way back in 14th position, and we jump back now to the battle. A couple of battles here. This is our 3rd pack. This is Jim Brewster, who for a time had been in, for about 150 feet, had been our leader. Jim Brewster, Skip Brock, who for maybe a little bit longer had been our leader. Both those drivers trailing Ray Blethen now in the battle for 8th. Here at Watkins Glen in the Spec Racer Fords as Brewster steps down to the inside. Is he going to try to outbreak the 151 machine? Indeed he does, and you can see the rear end of that 933 machine start to give a little bit of a wiggle as he's on the threshold of braking there. Gets around, moves himself now up into 8th here as they work lap number 7.
Yeah, and as we watch here, looked like Ray Blethen was not going to get that timing right, but here is that battle as it looks like Benna there has been dropped off the back of this pack, and now it's a battle with Huffman, Ray, and Greenfield up here.
Yeah, and so Huffman, who had started in 4th position, now finds himself back in 5th position, having worked himself back up there Deacon Greenfield started 8th tonight, now in 4th, and leading this pack of 3. And yeah, exactly. It looks like Andrew Benna, who we thought maybe would be able to pull Stevie Ray up to that lead pack. Not able to do it. He's now sitting back in 7th position. Pardon me.
Yeah, he now is going to be able to catch up to the back here of Stevie Ray. So just a little bit of an ebb and flow over the middle sector of this lap. It certainly looks like Ben is not out of the equation yet, but he is going to have a little bit more work to do if he wants to hold on to a top 5.
As we watch now here, and you can hear them jumbling there, going down through the gears, not jumbling down, but going down through this sequential gearbox as they came through turn 8, the heel of the boot, and then will start working their way up out of turn 9. And here's where they come to 2 very quick corners here at turn number 10. As you can see, very heavily cambered, and the issue here is always being able to get the car under control and get it all the way back to the left for the final corner here, as all 4 of these drivers do, as they now head on to the front straight. But they are slowly but surely losing the scent of our lead 3, as Deacon Greenfield sitting in 4th and almost 6 seconds off the lead pack.
And that's what all of that battling has really, really done. I mentioned earlier they needed to work together, use a little bit of the bump draft to try to get forward. It clearly doesn't look like they're going to be able to do that here at this point. With Vogel now is going to be the one to use a little bit of the bump draft here on Beans Forster. Thought about a move to the outside, now going to think about a move to the inside. I don't think here Vogel's going to go for this. I think he's going to back off going down into the inner loop. That's exactly what he does. I like that call out of Vogel.
Yeah, I think that was definitely the right call to make, especially now as you see Justice had a great run into the bus stop, and it halts his charge at least momentarily, as this battle now, again, this is the battle for 4th, 5th, really the battle for 4th position, as Andrew Benna, as Stevie Ray and Justin Huffman go through the inner loop. Huffman had a little bit of an issue there on the outside going into the inner loop, as once again Ray and Benna door to door, side by side, coming out of turn number 6 and start to head down the hill. And you can see as both Brewster and Skip Brock starting slowly but surely to make up ground on that group right there that last time by. Both Brewster and Brock running in the low 204s, and the only other driver with approximately the same speed, Huffman, who's also now trying to work his way back up to that front pack as well.
Yeah, and we heard that call a little bit earlier over the radio from Brewster to Skip Brock, I think, where he just said, let's go get him. So clearly some communication there between the two. They don't think they're out of this fight with about, well, let's call it 7 minutes and change left to go here in this race. Excuse me, 3 minutes and change left to go in this race.
I will give that to you after I made the big blunder about 6 minutes ago. All right, here, as we've got our leaders, Beans Forster, John Vogel, Josh Justice here coming up through the S's, and I still look at that start that Justice made coming all the way down the inside on that opening lap to put him in this position. And again, Josh Justice, a Spec Racer 4 driver in real life out of Texas, much as John Vogel, a real life Spec Racer 4 driver as well. We'll see if they have anything for the virtual Spec Racer 4 driver in Beans Forster here, as we now have only about 2.5 minutes remaining on the clock here from Watkins Glen.
Yeah, and with about lap times being in the 2:03, 2:04 range, I imagine that they're going to be coming to the white flag this time by. Stevie Ray running a pretty clean line there through the exit of the inner loop. And same can't be said there for Andrew Benna, as it looked like he got a little bit squirrely. I think he is pushing that number 71 as hard as it will go here at this point.
Yeah, I think as we've watched the last couple of laps, Benna seems to be more or less on the limits. I don't want to say the limits of adhesion, but driving to his limits. Certainly at this point, we'll have to see whether or not he goes over those limits or not, as he sometimes has a want to do. But for the most part, right now you can see he's doing everything, pulling out every little trick that he has to stay up with Stevie Ray and Justin Huffman.
Yeah, and it looks like here that he's losing a little bit of time, but Huffman running a little bit wide there on the exit of the heel. Now, on this new rescan that iRacing did a little bit less than a year ago, that is allowed. That is fine. You can run that a little bit wider, and depending on the car, it's actually the faster line.
All right, so Beans Forster comes out of turn 11 with John Vogel in tow, and they come down the front straight here to start the very last lap here from Watkins Glen. White flag in the air. It was interesting to see Vogel, or probably to see Forster come all the way down driver's right, maybe to try to, I've done that quite a bit at Road America, try to use that wall to maybe push you ahead just a little bit, but all for naught here as they come up through the S is John Vogel with a great run. But you said it, does he have to let out of the throttle? He pulls to the outside just in time, DJ. Oh, and contact between Forster and Vogel. They get together. That's going to put Josh Justice into the lead. Vogel goes and recovers, and I think Beans Forster let Vogel by there. Just the gentlemanly thing to do. But on the very last lap there, DJ.
On the very last lap, last time we saw these drivers, we had an almighty kerfluffle at the front of the field. Not nearly as big this time around. Let's take a look at the replay here. I couldn't exactly tell who moved and exactly where to cause the blame. Perfect timing there for Vogel as he came out. Now let's look. Oh, that was Beans. I think he was trying to pull back into the draft of the 14, and that's what caused the contact.
Yeah, just didn't have the clearance. You could see that very quick little move to the left, tapped in the rear quarter, and that was all it took to send the number 14 around as we've got Josh Justice, your new leader. Vogel and Forster trying to hold on against Greenfield and Huffman now, who've had a little bit of a breakaway from Stevie Ray and Andrew Benna as they now come down into turn number 8 into the heel for the very last time. And that is the battle for fourth as our leader, Josh Justice, now should be coming up through turn 10. Indeed, he does, coming into the final corner all by himself. And he's going to come onto the front straight, kind of shades of last week at Lime Rock here, DJ, as Josh Justice, the number 99 machine, he's going to take the win. Coming home in second, John Vogel. Beans Forster comes home on the last step of the podium, and Deacon Greenfield started at 8th tonight. He comes home in 4th. Huffman 5th, Stevie Ray 6th. Andrew Benna holds on for 7th after having started in 11th position tonight. Skip Brock, Jim Brewster, I'm sure they're wondering what could have been, as both of those drivers had at one point led this race. And there you go, rounding out the top 10, Andrew Wozencroft in the number 80 machine. Their great run for them. Wow.
Oh, was there in the background. I think that was Andrews having a little bit of a problem coming up over that fearsome turn 9, holding the brakes there, trying to get out of the way as much as possible as the 65. I think he's listening to the broadcast. He did that to spite me.
That may very well be. There you go, is Jeff Andrews now in the number 65 machine, gets the car back underway, and, did a little half donut there that I didn't think these Spec Racer Fords had enough torque to do. Great little clutch drop there to spin the car around coming out of turn 9 there. But great run here tonight. Congratulations to Josh Justice. And we do have a couple of folks here lined up in the waiting room here, DJ. Tell you what, why don't we start off? Let's bring in Beans Forster, finishing 3rd tonight in Spec Racer Ford.
Well, Beans, a good run out there for you for the majority of the race, qualifying on pole. Obviously, a little bit of unfortunate contact there on the back straightaway, but how was the race from behind the wheel?
The race was good. I saw we were going 3 wide into the bus stop on lap 1, and I just had to take the escape route. I didn't want to risk it.
Well, you stole my second question away from me there. I was going to ask you about that incident. But talk to me about the drive back up through the field. Were you just going full bore at that point, or were you just kind of letting the race come to you? How were you trying to feel it out?
Yeah, I was trying to pick my moves, because now that we don't have the fast repairs, I didn't want to hurt anybody, and I didn't want to hurt myself. So I just kind of picked my moves, and since Watkins is they got such long straights, I just chose to get a better exit speed and pick up the draft, and then just kind of stream past people.
Well, it certainly worked out for you, and I do want to ask you about that contact there at the end. Saw you letting Vogel on by, the sportsman thing to do. It looked like just a little bit of a miscue that you tried to pull back into the draft.
Yeah, on other laps, the draft is just so heavy there, and coming up out of the S's, I just misjudged his speed. I thought he was going faster than he really was, and I just kind of misjudged it and got a little antsy. I gave it back to John. He definitely deserved it, and I apologize to him too.
Well, it's one of the reasons why we love covering you guys here in the Ray Esports League. Such great sportsmanship among you, but we won't hold you for too long. We know you got another race to get ready for, but any shout-outs you'd like to give?
Thanks to you guys and everyone here for making this league what it is in the racing A-class.
Well, thank you, Beans, and we'll see you on the track in just a few minutes' time.
See you guys. Thank you.
All right, there you go, Beans Forster. Now let's do this. Let's quickly jump over. It looks like Josh Justice may have already jumped in the car to get out for qualifying in the F4 race. So let's bring in quickly John Vogel, finishing second tonight in Spec Racer Report.
Hey, John, how you doing? Second place there. Looked like you were kind of under battle there for the entirety of the race. No room to get away.
No, the draft is so powerful at Watkins Glen. It's like, it's a love-hate thing, you know? You want to go out there and drive away, but there's no driving away. I'm sure Beans felt the same way, and so did Josh. So, you know, we're all in the same game.
Well, we heard Beans' perspective on the contact there at the very, very end. Obviously, apologies being issued, but still holding on to a second place despite of that. I think definitely a testament to your guys' outright pace over the course of the entire race.
I appreciate that. Just for the record, I did get a formal apology from Beans in the green room, if that's what we're calling it. And anyway, that was appreciated. You know, when you're sim racing, if a guy's on a flat screen and you want to hold him tight on a line, you never really know if they know you're there. And my son's on me all the time in the real racing. Like, we'll watch my replays. You pass a guy and I give too much room. He's like, why are you letting that guy have all that track? So I'm trying to tighten all of that up. But, you know, you got to remember real world versus sim and what you're dealt with. I mean, I'm sure Beans, just like he said, his perspective was lost. And of course it was. I mean, it's only got one view. So I don't want to overtalk it, but it just happens.
It does indeed happen, but as we look ahead here, getting ready for the Formula 4s, what can we expect, do you think?
I'm going to go try to win it. I don't know. Let's qualify out and see what happens.
Well, we won't hold you from it. Get out there and qualify. Got a couple of minutes left to go in it. Before you go, though, anybody you'd like to shout out?
Air conditioning and you guys and all the guys racing. 25 cars tonight. Very, very fun turnout. Let's keep it going.
Let's keep it going indeed. John Vogel, thank you, and we'll see you on the track in a couple of minutes.
Thank you, guys.
All right, there you go, John Vogel. So, DJ, let's do this. Let's take a quick little break. We'll get set up for that Formula 4 race, and we'll be back here in just a few moments from Watkins Glen International, where you are watching season number 7 of the Ray Esports Racing League. We'll be right back. All right, and we are back here at Watkins Glen for season number 7 of the Esports Racing League. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with DJ Clark, not Tim Cox. And we just had a very exciting finish to the Spec Racer Sports, but we're not done yet. We've got a 20-minute run to the checker for our Formula 4 racers here, and admittedly, some of the same folks, but very different style of racing in the Formula 4s than the Spec Racer Sports, DJ.
Yeah, very different indeed. We do have downforce coming into play in these IRO4s, and so that is going to change things up a lot. You're not going to be able to follow nearly as closely behind, particularly down through the boot in some of those faster corners, but the draft is going to be just as effective coming up out of the 90 and up through the S's. So watch for the majority of passes in these cars to be made going down into the inner loop like we saw last time, but downforce changes everything in these machines.
Yeah, it certainly does. It just makes for some amazing racing, obviously, but to know that as long as you keep your foot in the throttle and you can continue to generate that downforce, it's for many of these racers, I think, just a question of, maybe not even knowing where the limits of the car is or are. But we'll have to see how they handle it here tonight in our second race. Let's do this real quick, DJ. Since they're not racing with us here this week, and they're going to be back next week when we go to Mid-Ohio, let's quickly take a look at the Spec Miatas and where they stand now. Last week at Lime Rock, taking the win, Beans Forster, who we just spoke to a few moments ago. Murphy Nichols came in second to Stephen Bleth, and I talked about that podium for Stephen, who had started 6th on the evening. Great run for him. And if we take a look at the point standings in Spec Miata, and this is after 3 rounds, Beans Forster is currently your championship leader. So 2 classes, 2 championship leads. He has 2 out of the 3 wins this season. Wanchi Lin taking the 3rd win. Murphy Nichols sitting 2nd in the championship, but a distant 24 points back. 4 points back from there is Kevin Langer in the number 17 Team Langer Machine. Deacon Greenfield only a single point back from there in 4th. And then Stephen Blethen, based, I think, primarily off that great finish that he had last week at Lime Rock, currently sitting 5th in the points with 34. All right, and if we now take a look at the IR04s, the F4 cars, Jamison Huffman took the win 2 weeks ago. That was at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. Started on the outside of the front row, beat his teammate at the pole sitter that night, Morgan Burkhardt, who came home in 2nd. Margin of victory, 92 thousandths of a second. So talk about some close racing there. Beans Forster came home in 3rd, John Vogel 4th, Deacon Greenfield in 5th. And if we take a look at the point standings, surprise, surprise, DJ, look at that. Beans Forster currently running the table. He is your championship leader. He's got a 15-point advantage right now over Ray Blethen and Justin Huffman, who are tied for 2nd. And boy, is it tight. DJ Alessandrini, who again we've received word he probably will not be racing with us again this season. DJ one and done. He came out to Sonoma and won that race hands down. He's currently sitting with 26 points, and then only 1 point back from there. We've got Jamison Huffman and Joaquin Effinger tied for 5th position right now. With 25, but as you can see, real close, and it's not all that far back to Caleb Pocock or Wayne Buttermore either. So real tight, close racing here so far this season in Formula 4 as we get ready for our 4th race of the season for them. Actually, is this? Pardon me, that's not the fourth race. It's the 3rd race of the season for the Formula 4s.
Yeah, and so only 2 races having been run at this point for the Formula 4s, explaining a little bit why that those championship standings are so tight, with Beans Forster just doing what he does best and leading the way there. Currently in 2nd place right now in qualifying, and I've got to say, I don't think he's going to be improving, because like we talked about in those Spec Racer Fords, kind kind of need the draft here,
Yes.
going up into the inner loop to set a quick time. And as you can see on your screens, Beans running out by himself right now.
That's right, and it's probably going to take a run down the pit lane. We're laying off the throttle quite a bit to get to the next car on track and work together with somebody else here as we take a look quickly here at Caleb Pocock in the number 88 machine. Pocock currently sitting 12th in the order, looking to improve upon the 150.02, but you can see how close things are there with the 150.02. Russ Lundberg at a 149.941, not all that far up the order, and only about another 4/10 up to Ray Bluffin. So real tight running in the mid-pack here in the Formula 4s as we are we're starting to wind things up here as we only have about 2 minutes remaining in qualifying. Hey, real quick, DJ, let me quickly talk about our sponsor for the Spec Racer Ford race, since I gave a nice plug to Grassroots Motorsports, but Spec Racer Sports was our sponsor for our first race of the evening, and their mission is to help fuel and support your addiction to road racing. Let's talk a little bit more about them, because they feel that the way to accomplish this is by providing exceptional customer support, the parts and services you need when you need them at a fair and competitive price. They're located trackside at Motorsports Ranch Houston, and Spec Racer Sports currently stables Spec Racer Fords and other exceptionally prepared rental cars. In addition to those Spec Racer Fords for rent, Spec Racer Sports also has new cars for sale, and they offer storage and support as well as technical services such as chassis dyno work, driver coaching, and fabrication. And everything they have there is offered at a very competitive rate. To find out more about Spec Racer Sports and their services, head on over to specracersports.com. There we go. I feel better. We've fulfilled our contractual obligations. Don't let me forget our third sponsor tonight, please.
All right, I'm writing it down so you're not going to forget it.
That's right. Well, we'll get them during the pace lap. But here we go as we now have less than a minute, actually close to half a minute remaining on the clock. Andrew Benna, who only ran 3 flying laps on his third, set the provisional pole time at a 147.23. And not only, DJ, were you right in Beans Forster not being able to improve, but Justin Huffman, who races in the SCCA Formula Enterprises 2 Formula car in real life, and I believe his son Jameson is going to be joining him for the 2023 season. Justin Huffman, currently your second fastest driver on track and only 2/10 off of Andrew Benna. There's the 223 machine, the red, white, and blue beast. Deacon Greenfield, we saw there just a few moments ago, have a small little issue with grip. He's currently running in 4th as he gets that car back underway. John Vogel, Ray Bluffin, currently 5th and 6th here in qualifying, and those two drivers very closely matched, and Ray Bluffin very, very close, only about 0.08 of a second off of John Vogel. So real close racing there.
Yeah, it's very close racing up and down the field here, and I think that's going to promote very close racing in the race, as you can imagine. And in these Formula 4s, it's going to be very, very difficult to be keeping that close racing. We saw some contact there in the SRFs, and you know as well as I do, Greg, if you get that same kind of contact here in the IRO4, it doesn't end well.
No, there's a reason why there's big catch fencing all the way around Watkins Glen. It's not for the Spec Racer 4s, it's for those open wheel cars. So we'll see. Hopefully it won't come into use here for our second race of the evening, as the checkered flag is out on qualifying. We do have a few drivers that are on their very last flying laps. We'll see here, I believe, Justin Huffman, who's coming up through turn 9 right now. And looks like his session, he was just blinking out there for a moment, and he is still out there as he comes through turn 10 and just one more corner. We'll see if he can improve upon that 147.81, if he can get down to the 147.2s and challenge Andrew Benna for the pole. And as he crosses the line, Justin Huffman, he turns in, look at this, a 46.74, almost a half second faster than Andrew Benna. Justin Huffman's going to start on pole.
That is an almighty lap there for Justin Huffman. My goodness, that is putting down a marker on the rest of the field here. He is going to be the one to catch.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And he saved the best for last, and that is one heck of an advantage there, almost half a second. We'll see. You know, it is probably not going to help him on the start, but DJ, you know, I'm looking back to the first race of the night and the start that Justin Huffman got in Spec Racer 4. He didn't have anywhere to go because he was on row number 2, but it was a mighty jump that none of our other drivers seemed to have, except for maybe Josh Justice. All right, let's take a look here. Starting on pole tonight, as we mentioned, with a time of 1:46.740, Justin Huffman out of the Washington, D.C. area. Andrew Benna out of, I believe, Massachusetts, will start in second on the outside of row number 1. Beans Forster, our current championship leader, will start third tonight, with John Vogel starting in fourth. Deacon Greenfield will start fifth, with Ray Blethen starting in sixth. Josh Justice will start seventh, and Andrew Wozencroft will start on the outside of row number 4.
In ninth place, it'll be Stevie Ray, followed by Jim Brewster. And then in row 6, it's Caleb Pocock and Stephen Blethen. In 13th, it'll be Ross Lundberg, followed by Quinn Effinger. Then Mark Sherman and Wayne Buttermore round out your 16-car field.
All right, so here as we get ready to start our pace lap, here, let me read the correct spot this time. As we've got John Grabowski in the background going, yay. All right, let's talk about Alliance Autosport, our sponsor for our second and final race of the evening. Based in Columbus, Ohio, Alliance has found success both at the club and professional levels, garnering multiple championships, including 8 SCCA National Championships, 3 SCCA Pro Racing Championships, as well as a USF 2000 National Class Championship. Alliance Autosports team members are dedicated, hardworking, and they know what it takes to win. Alliance is SCCA Enterprises Great Lakes Division customer service representative for Formula Enterprises 2 and Spec Racer 4 Gen 3, and their services include arrive and drive packages for both, as well as Trans Am 2. They've got this beautiful Camaro sitting in their stable. In addition, they offer customer car prep, trackside support, transportation, storage, part sales, data analysis, and hospitality, as well as driver coaching and development. To join Alliance Autosport on the winning track, check them out at allianceautosport.com. And with that, DJ, we've got that beautiful Porsche 911 pace car starting to bring our drivers up into the S's on the pace lap.
And for these drivers, they're going to have to keep in mind the tire temperatures as well. It has risen a little bit here, up to about 74 degrees Fahrenheit out on track. But in these open wheelers, it is going to be all the more important to keep good tire temperatures in the cars. And let's also not forget about, with 70 degrees ambient temperature, getting those brakes nice and warm as well.
Yeah, indeed. And you can see a couple of our drivers, for example, they're over on the outside of, well, I guess it'll be on the inside on row number 2, Andrew Benna, doing quite a bit of weaving, as is John Vogel right behind. Not seeing drivers, and I always think about the tin top cars where, at least if a driver stands on the brakes to try and heat up the rubber, try and heat up the brakes, try to heat up the wheels, at least you have brake lights that you can see. I guess doing the surge here and jumping on the brakes and then getting on the gas during a pace lap in a Formula car probably is not the most efficient thing to do, and certainly could throw the drivers behind off quite a bit. So you're going to probably see a little bit more weaving here, and you see looks like Deacon Greenfield in the blue and green number 36 machine still getting a little minor weave coming down into the chute here, but certainly very important for these drivers to get some heat in. They have, as DJ mentioned, the downforce generated by the wings and by the under tray on this car, but still they are going to need to have heat in those tires to keep the rear end from going around on some of the slower corners that they may find on the first lap, and going into turn one on that initial lap is not going to be at a very high rate of speed.
No, it's certainly not, and we saw all the problems that drivers were having in those SRFs coming down through the 90. Very similar suspension style layout, stiff suspensions here in these IRO4s, and so that same little bit of problem that you can have if you get onto the loud pedal as you're going up over those rumble strips on the curbing, that can really throw off these cars. You got to be very, very careful about it.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably the one difference that we're going to see compared to the Spec Racer Fords is, especially going into the bus stop, you're not going to necessarily see the curb pounding that we saw in our first race here. The FIA curbing here at Watkins Glen could certainly toss one of these cars up and over about a half a car width here as the pace car brings the field through the final corner through turn 11. It's going to make that hard right into the pit lane. And our pole sitter, Justin Huffman, in the red, white, and blue, number 223, has the field. Andrew Bennett to the left, and we have a green flag. And John Vogel immediately jumping to the inside and is 3 cars wide in the battle for second as Huffman gets a great start. John Vogel runs wide. We have another driver who ran very wide on the start there, and I believe that was likely Deacon Greenfield, who now finds himself back in 6th position as Jim Brewster and Justice start their march up through the field, trying to make up ground and maybe get a little retribution for their very first race of the night, as it's now 3 wide going down into the bus stop in that pack with Stevie Ray, Brewster, and Blethen.
Yeah, and you saw Andrew Rosencroft there, I think, really backing off going down into the inner loop, wanting no part of that 3 wide, but it looks like everybody's been able to make it through the first couple of corners here nice and easy, and that's going to be good news. Tires are going to be getting up to temperature here, and we can start to see a little bit more aggressive racing now.
Yeah, and you saw there as our leader, Justin Huffman, went down into turn 6 and went into the chute there, and the rear end really started to walk out on him. He's still trying to get some heat in the tires here as we watch this battle. Beans Forster, again, our championship leader, the blue and yellow number 231 machine, going against the 151 of Ray Blethen, gets that pass made as both drivers now battling it out for third with Andrew Benna as our top 2 drivers separate themselves out just a little bit from this battle going through turn 9. Benna runs wide coming through 9, and Beans Forster are going to try to sneak underneath them as they make that short run over towards turn 10. Move Beans Forster for the moment up into 3rd position, but can he hold it going into the final corner? He does.
Great stuff there by Beans Forrester, just giving a little bit of a chop in front there to Andrew Benna and cutting off some of the clean air on the front of those cars. Now, we talked about the downforce, and that's going to work both ways here. You're going to be able to get good grip as a result of it, but you've got to be running in clean air. If you're running directly behind another car like that, or you get the air chopped off from you, that is going to be a loss of grip. So you've got to be careful, specifically coming through the boot and through those last 2 corners.
Yeah, no, in previous years, DJ, we had run the USF 2000 cars, and they seemed to be fairly impervious to washing out and having the air stall over the front wing if they follow too closely to the car in front. A little bit different there now, as you can see there what the effect is of running over that entrance curbing on drivers right there, as Ray Blethen got a lot of air in the 151 machine just ahead of Deacon Greenfield. The IRO4s, the F4 machines, don't seem as impervious to it, but I mean, they handle it reasonably well. That you can see a lot of close racing, and you know, and I think also with these 20-minute races, you don't see the front tires go away all that much over the course of this very short race.
Yeah, indeed, and thankfully that does keep it very close together and good running. And you're right that it's not as if you're running necessarily in a Formula 1 car or an Indy car necessarily, that you're going to have that massive aero difference. It's just something if you suddenly lose it that it'll pop out on you. But right now, we check on Justice here. All of them able to get through turn 9 nice and easy, but this pack is really starting to bunch up.
Yeah, indeed they are, as we're watching right now. Greenfield, Justice, and right behind him, Stevie Ray in the number 11 machine, as they've fallen back just a little bit there from Andrew Benna and Ray Blethen. But a great battle here up at the front as Beans Forster now with John Vogel in tow. And for the moment there, both drivers have, I don't want to say they've lost touch with Justin Huffman, but, you know, Justin Huffman having put in a qualifying lap almost half a second faster than the rest of the field. Now here on lap number 3, well, he's a little bit over 2 seconds ahead of the rest of the field, as it looks like both Forster and Vogel, maybe with a little bit of fight in them, giving Huffman a little bit more of an advantage.
Yeah, it looks like if they continue to scrap here a little bit and not necessarily work together, that I think Huffman will be able to slip away. We may see, if they decide to work together, a little bit of a leapfrog, letting one driver lead, getting the tow, backing off, and then letting the other driver slingshot ahead. But we focus back again on this battle in the mid-pack. Joshua Justice still trying to work his way forward.
Yeah, so we've got Justice. He's trying to hold off Brewster. So these two drivers, Brewster, our winner in Spec Racer Ford last week, and Josh Justice, who finished on the podium here in our Spec Racer Ford race just a few moments ago. And they are trailing behind Stevie Ray in the number 11 machine, who we're on board with right now. And just ahead is that 36 of Deacon Greenfield. Greenfield having started in 5th, sitting in 6th. Oh, and we have a big wreck. That's Andrew Benna, I believe, that's just gone around over at turn 9. And lots of drivers having some issues there. Looks like the 88 of Pocock went around as well. And all of these drivers, DJ, as they come out of turn 9, where it's really a blind exit out of there, as they came up to almost about a 65-70% track blockage.
Yeah, and I think there for Pocock in particular, that was just a little bit of incident fixation. He saw the accident and just scared him off the line, as it looked like he didn't make contact with anyone. Oh, but here's Stevie Ray working on Blethen as we go back to check out the replay of exactly what happened here to Pocock.
All right, and as they come up out of turn 8, go into turn 9, and yeah, Pocock loses the rear end, but I think at that point we already had Benna had gone around, and you can see there was another driver with Benna. And I'm trying to see, I think that might have been Wozencroft that was up there with Benna. Let's take a look here and see if we can get a little bit better look as we go a little bit further ahead. And that, yeah, that's the number 80 machine. And looks like, I think the 223 machine of Brewster might have been up there with Benna as well. So a lot of drivers involved in that incident. It looks like obviously Benna and also Wozencroft getting the worst of it, however. As we jump now back over to this battle, and this is the battle now for 5th position. Stevie Ray, the trailing car, Ray Blethen, the lead car, and Jim Brewster, who was just involved in that little melee at turn 9 a few moments ago. He's a couple seconds back, about a second and a half back, down in 7th position.
Again, if these two really start to scrap here, I certainly think that Brewster could be involved in this conversation for the top 5. But Blethen right now, I've been watching him a little bit. I'm impressed by what he's doing. He's not running a defensive line here, Greg. He's just running the traditional racing line and making Stevie Ray make the hard move around him.
All right, tell you what, I think we're going to go back to turn 9 once again. It's like Groundhog Day over here, DJ. As we see Andrew Benna now coming up through turn 9 lost the car just at the apex, and wow, it looked like it was Blethen there, and there's, oh wow, and there's the contact we saw with Wozencroft, and Brewster might have had a little bit of contact with the 71 of Benna, but again, coming out there and seeing a car sitting across track as you come out of that blind corner, very, very difficult. Oh, and there we go, Stevie Ray and Ray Blethen. And you know, you said it, DJ, as Blethen was driving and trying to make Stevie Ray just find a way around him, not running a defensive line. Well, they went into the bus stop there side by side, and Stevie Ray just kind of forced himself through.
Yeah, forced himself through and forced Blethen to really get off the loud pedal. He's already fallen back to the tune of about 1.5 seconds here, and that's allowed for Brewster to catch up on him. So not the best run there if you are a fan of Ray Blethen.
All right, as we jump back up to the lead there momentarily, as we see Justin Huffman, and that 2.5, almost 3-second lead now is started to dissipate as Beans Forster has lost John Vogel, and it looks like John Vogel has lost John Vogel going through turn number 8 as the heel of the boot creates a problem for the number 4 machine. Let's jump back, take a look. I think we've got the replay already queued up, John.
All right,
John.
Here it is. John Vogel just trying to close in on Beans in front of him. Let's see, brings the car down into the corner. I think that was just a case of a little bit too much speed at corner apex, and that just sent him off to the outside. Doesn't look like a whole lot of contact there, so he'll be able to get back and going. Take that back. There's a little bit of damage there on driver's left on that front wing.
Yeah, you can see there as the end plate is a little bit askew. That's going to drop Vogel now down in the 7th position. Definitely opens things up for Beans Forster, who is sitting in 2nd position. And just as that was happening, I was going to say that 3-second lead that Huffman had actually dissipated all the way down to about 1.5 seconds, but it looks like Huffman's started to stretch that back out again. Greenfield sitting in 2nd, and let's jump back. Well, there we go. There is our leader, Justin Huffman, and you can see how far back Beans Forster is. Definitely within viewing range, but holding steady at about 2 seconds off. We may have seen Huffman maybe just let out for at least a lap or so. But great battle still going on between Stevie Ray and Ray Blethen in the battle for 4th, which is I think what we had on there for a few moments. But yeah, it should mention Deacon Greenfield started 5th tonight, kind of in no man's land right now in 3rd, DJ. But it looks like a very quiet race for the 36 machine.
Yeah, very quiet race. Really nobody around him here at this point. Blethen right now, the 151, trying to close in on the back of Stevie Ray. The gap's about 1.7 here at this point. That's going to be out of that effective draft range. He's going to need to try to close down here, I would say 6 to 7 tenths of a second if he really wants to feel the effect of the draft coming out of the 90.
Here they are. All right, tell you what, let's jump back here, take a look at Josh Justice, who just comes out of that final corner. And Justice is maybe within that draft range of the number 4 machine of John Vogel as they go through the 90 and start to head up the hill. Right about 1 second in arrears, although it looked like perhaps Vogel got a better run than Justice out of turn 1. You can see the effect of the draft there is Justice knocks off almost 15 hundredths, and now about 2 tenths as they come to the bus stop. Actually, almost 3 tenths, DJ, going into the bus stop.
Yeah, starting to get it down here a little bit more. Justice is going to be getting the benefit of the draft here on Vogel. And remember, Vogel's got that damage to the front wing. That's going to really be affecting his turn-in here to these corners. And you can tell just that car looking a little bit sluggish trying to get down to the apex there in the chute.
Yeah, it looked like it was hunting there to get over to the apex over at turn 6. And same thing here, just kind of meanders finally over to the apex.
Yeah, it just looks like he's not able to get that front end grip that he really wants to here at this point, and you can already see the difference. Justice being able to close down, it's under 5 tenths of a second. Little bit of snap oversteer there for the 99, but he was able to gather it up underneath him nice and easy.
All right, and we'll see here is now coming up through turn 9. Same story, even on the slower speed corners, a little trouble getting the nose of the number 4 to turn in, and Justice smelling a little blood, maybe sensing a little weakness here, comes out of the final corner. Doesn't carry the speed that the 4 does out of turn 11, but once again in a very good position here. May not be able to get up to the 4 going into turn 1, but is going to be in a very good spot as he is going to come through turn 2 and up through the S's. Let's do this. Let's jump back up to our 3rd place runner, Deacon Greenfield, who's now under attack. I just finished saying, DJ, that he was running a very quiet race, but he's under attack now by Stevie Ray.
Yeah, I did not expect that to happen. Ray going to be down to the inside here of the inner loop. Big hop of the curbs. That's going to cause him to go wide and spin. There he goes around.
And there you go, Stevie Ray now. And Stevie Ray comes all the way across the track, impacts the tire wall there, driver's left, and he's having some trouble getting that car underway, and I think it may be game over for the number 11 machine. Indeed, it is. Stevie Ray gets the car towed back to the pits, and let's take a look here and see how this played out as Greenfield and Stevie Ray were side by side coming into the inner loop, and we had Stevie Ray getting a lot of curbing there on entrance.
Yeah, a lot of curbing there, sent him up 4 wheels into the air. It looked for a second like he may have been able to held it right at the middle of the bus stop, but I think he just didn't get onto the binders and tried to carry speed around, and as a result, ran a little bit wide, touched the curbing, and that was enough to send him spinning around.
And there you go, and thankfully nobody else collected him, but as we jump back over now to John Vogel sitting in 6th with Justice still trying to find a way by. Now as we're a lap later on, and just about 5 minutes remaining here in our Formula 4 race, our IRO4 race here for the Esports Racing League. We'll see if Justice can make a run here this time by, as it looks like both of these drivers are starting to make up a little bit of ground on Jim Brewster as well. That last time by, both Vogel and Justice almost half a second faster than the orange number 933 machine.
Yeah, they're certainly looking like they're closing in a little bit more here at this point, but I still have my eyes on Justice trying to line up this pass as much as possible. And a little bit of a defensive line there from Vogel. He's going to make Justice go the long way around. Justice backs off.
All right, and as they come out of the inner loop and start to make their way over towards the chute and to the boot, I was starting to wonder whether or not maybe Justice thought, well, you know, maybe again, if we just work together, we can find our way up to the 933 machine. But pretty obvious there, John Vogel holding on for all it's worth. Great car positioning there, as we saw Justice had to back out, had to get off the throttle, had to get into the brakes much earlier than John Vogel in order to negotiate the inner loop. And he's right back where he was 1 lap ago, 2 laps ago, as we've now got 4 minutes remaining. All right, tell you what, let's take a look here. And this is the battle for 10th. We haven't picked up this battle. I always used to joke here, DJ, that in the Esports Racing League, that wherever Joaquin Effinger was, Wayne Buttermore was sure to follow, and Russ Lundberg wasn't going to be far ahead or far behind. And that's kind of where we are right now, as Lundberg, Effinger, and Buttermore have made up 4 positions and 5 positions. Oh, and going around, coming through turn 9. That's the 88 machine, who's had some issues tonight. Caleb Pocock going around, and Russ Lundberg, the 129 machine. We said it earlier, blind exit, and just didn't see it coming. Let's take a look here, and I think we're going to be looking at it right from the cockpit of Russ Lundberg as they come up to turn 9.
And I have been involved in these kind of situations here on the sim. You see him, he thinks he's going to wash out wide a little bit there, and just the way that the car broke down, it brought its way to the inside. You've got to pick a lane when you're coming onto an incident that quickly, and it's a flip of the coin whether or not it's going to work. Yeah,
you know, I thought for a moment there that maybe Lundberg had a little bit of target fixation and kind of tracked the car as it was coming back over to driver's left, but you know, you just have so little time to react there. And yeah, you get a feel for Russ Lundberg, who is now out of the race. Joaquin Effinger and Wayne Buttermore taking advantage of that situation now, up into 8th and 9th, respectively. All right, so now as we've got just a little bit over 2 minutes remaining, likely here 2 laps to go, I believe, now as Justin Huffman comes out of the final corner and crosses the stripe with about 1:55 remaining on the clock. And Beans Forster crossing the line just sets fast lap here, DJ, almost 0.3 of a second faster than our leader Justin Huffman. And you know, there's still plenty of time for the 231 machine here.
Well, and what's crucial here about this is if you look at that gap on your screen, it's under that second mark, which means he's going to be getting the full effect of the draft here. And there you can see a whole tenth taken out by the time they get into the inner loop. So Beans Forrester absolutely within striking distance here if he plays his cars right down through the boot.
All right, as they come out of the inner loop through the outer loop and start to make their way down into the chute. And Beans Forrester running a little bit wide there over at turn 6, but he is definitely making up ground here as we jump back. Now, this is the battle for third as Deacon Greenfield, who's for so long looked safe in that third position. Stevie Ray took a shot at him, went off at the bus stop, and now Ray Blethyn in the 151 machine. He gets by the 36 of Greenfield to move Blethyn now with just a lap and a half remaining up into third position. It's going to move Greenfield off the podium for the time being. But again, still another lap to go here from Watkins Glen for these racers as we see Jim Brewster now working his way up the fifth in that bright red, bright orange number 933 machine. He's making up to, he's been jumping up to this battle as well as we jump back, speaking of jumping, up to the lead here, DJ, and Forrester is getting closer.
He's getting closer, but he's only got one lap to make this work. But just for good measure, he set the fastest lap of the race again last time by. Call it about 5.5 tenths of a second faster than Huffman in front of him. He's got 6 tenths of a second to try to gain here. I don't think he's going to be close enough to make the move into the inner loop, but watch him coming through the boot.
And here they come up onto the back straight out of the S's, and we should see Forrester get the effect of that draft, but he is still about 5 car lengths back. He's not going to be able to challenge going into the outer loop, but we'll see here. He's still got now almost a half lap remaining here at Watkins Glen, and we've seen some photo finishes coming out of that final corner. DJ, it's not unheard of. You can get a nice pull out of turn 11, but Beans Forrester now only within 2 car lengths of our leader as they come down into the toe.
Let's see what he can do here. Closes up massively under braking.
Wow.
The question's going to be, is he's going to be able to make a run here? I think he just might be able to, Greg.
And here we go. You can see Huffman now moving over center track. Gets a little defensive. Forrester thinks about it twice, does not continue to charge, but Huffman runs wide coming out of the heel, loses more ground as it looks like that car starting to go away from the driver of the 223 machine. Forrester now right on the gearbox coming out of turn number 9, only 2 corners remaining as they come down through turn 10. Forrester, he's got a choice. Can he square off the corner and come up the inside of Huffman, or is he going to follow him through and try to drag him as they come onto the front straight? And Huffman, he's going to hold off the 231 machine. Justin Huffman taking what I believe is his very first win in the Esports Racing League. Comes home the winner. Beans Forrester will finish in second, and the battle for the last step on the podium, Ray Blethyn. Can he hold off Deacon Greenfield as they come onto the front straight? Greenfield tries to come underneath, and at the line, Ray Blethyn will come home in third, margin 7/100ths of a second over Deacon Greenfield. Jim Brewster comes home in fifth. John Vogel comes home in sixth. Justice, Buttermore, Effinger, Mark Sherman should round out your top 10, but I might be getting ahead of myself just a little bit. As Buttermore now has only 1 more corner remaining, as does Effinger. Wayne Buttermore holding off the 700 of Effinger will come home in 8th. And somewhere back there, somewhere, is Mark Sherman. There's Mark. Here he comes onto the front straight. Mark Sherman. He's going to come home in 10th.
Comes home in 10th to round out the field there, just waiting for Stephen Blethyn to cross over the line, but I think he may have had a little bit of a problem there as I just saw him potentially off track in the 150.
Oh, yeah, there he is. And that might be more than a little bit of trouble as he happens to be missing something very important, and that would be his left front tire as he comes into the toe, probably the heel of the boot, and comes up and runs wide. Yep, oof. And on the very last lap, it doesn't look like the 150 car is going to make it to the checkered flag. All right, so let's do this, DJ. Looks like we've got a couple folks sitting in the green room. I'll tell you what, we haven't talked to him, I don't think, ever. We've got Justice sitting in the green room. He came home third in Spec Racer Ford. I don't think we got to him. Finishes seventh tonight in the Formula 4. Let's talk to the driver of the number 99 machine.
Let's indeed talk to him. Josh, a great podium run out there for you in the Spec Racer Fords. 7th as well, a good top 10 here in the IRO 4. Pretty good night for you on the trot.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I had a very lucky qualifying. I basically had Benjamin Forrester come out of the pit, give me a tow, and I wound up being the third or something in qualifying, which was about a second faster than I've been running in practice. And we had that situation on the first lap. I'm gonna have to go back, watch the replay, see exactly what happened. But at the moment, I was planning to put John Vogel through and follow him through the bus stop. And then the red car behind me kind of pulled up to my right. And I think someone else did something, and I don't know if we were 3 wide or 4 wide, but two people, I saw 2 cars go smoking away, and we wound up with like a 3-car pack. And I just kept the draft and kept up with them for the rest of the race. Just focusing, not making any mistakes. And on the last lap, the 2 guys got together. I don't know whose fault it was. I don't know if there was any net code involved. But they wrecked, and I just went around them. And I had a 5-second lead, and I just took it easy, the lap. No mistake. Don't throw it away. And I held on to it. I managed to win. It was a lot of fun. For the F4 race, I had a chance. There was a red car in front of me coming out of the booth. Not sure who it was, and I tried to get on the binder and just make it around him to the left, but my car spun, and I tapped the wall. I didn't damage the car, I don't think, or if I did, it wasn't enough to matter. And I got it turned around, but I lost the pack. And I tried to make a move on the lap. I picked up a slow down the bus stop, so I just had to let everybody go and didn't get to make any moves in the last couple times. I had a lot of fun with the 2 racing. Good race. It's good to finally get a win, good series.
I'm sure it is to finally be able to get that notched up. But as we said, with that win, with the 7th place here, it's shout-out time. Who would you like to thank?
I'm sorry, man. I can't really tell what you're saying. I kind of need the tech.
All good, my friend. Just asking who you'd like to thank here today.
A whole lot. I thank everybody I worked with in the real car. I've gotten parts, and I did the driver school with Spec Racer Sports. I know they sponsor the SRF series. They're based out of Houston, and that's actually where I get my driving school, was in Houston. So that's how, I've spent about a year now driving the real Spec Racer. And I come in here and try to get as much practice as I can in the sim, even though it's not exactly 1-to-1, it's close enough to be beneficial, and got the close racing, and that's very helpful, I think. My first year racing, I wasn't so bothered in traffic, because I've been doing the real racing and in the sim racing. You're constantly in traffic in the sim, and you can learn how to drive in traffic in the sim. That's probably the number one thing from the sim that translates to the real world, is being able to drive real close in traffic. If anybody's wondering.
Well, I know that is something that I certainly need to work on. But Josh, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. And again, congratulations on a great night.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, Greg, that was Joshua Justice here, 7th place in the IR04s.
Yeah, and of course, taking that win in Spec Racer Ford, his very first win in the Ray Esports Racing League. 2 first-time winners here tonight. So let's bring in now, we've already talked to him once, but with a great fight here at the end, almost found a way past our eventual winner, Justin Huffman. We got Beans Forster, driver of the 231 machine.
Beans, I got to ask you about those last couple of laps. You look like you were on an absolutely monumental charge there.
Yeah, I would have caught up to him sooner, but the incident with John from last race kind of off put me a little bit, so had to mow some lawn a bit coming out of the bus stop.
Well, I mean, talk to me as that car got a little bit closer and closer in your visor. Were you going in full attack mode, or were you just kind of letting it come to you?
I was going full bore. I was trying to get him as quick as I could, and going up the hill there on the backstretch on the last lap. I got a little bit better of a run, but I kind of wasn't really in the right spot to make a pass on him, so I kind of lost all my momentum, and that was it from there.
Well, hate to see that, but I want to turn your eyes to next week. We head to another great American course in the form of Mid-Ohio in the Spec Racer Fords, or excuse me, the IRO4s and the Miatas. How do you think that's going to play out?
I haven't really raced Mid-Ohio too much. It's not my strongest track, so I guess we'll see next week.
Well, we wish you all the luck in the world when you get there. Anybody else you would like to thank? We already got you one shout out, but anybody you missed?
Well, I sent Ray the Discord link, but he accidentally shut off his computer, so dropped something on the power strip. But he said thanks for everyone for hosting, and he's glad he beat his brother in both races.
If you can beat your family, that's all that matters.
That's right.
Beans, thank you so much, buddy.
And you said Ray Bluff, and he just happened to drop something on the power strip.
Yep.
That is the best excuse I think I've ever heard. All right. All right, everybody. There you go. That's Beans Forster finishing second tonight in the IRO4s and the Formula 4s. Thanks so much, Beans. Appreciate it, and see you next week.
See you next week, guys. Thank you.
All right, there you go. So, TJ, let's wrap things up here from Watkins Glen, and you said it. Next week we're going to be at the beautiful Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. We're going to have the return of our Formula 4 cars. They're going to be here. They're going to be our very first race of the evening, and then we're going to wrap things up with the Spec Miatas there from wonderful Mid-Ohio. All right, so for DJ Clark, for John Grabowski, I'm Greg Ginsburg. Congratulations to both of our winners tonight, and we'll see you next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a great week, everybody.